Hey there. This is sort of a follow-up to scripted versus unscripted here on what's today? Wednesday, right? I don't know. I don't pay any attention to my time clock. This is sort of I ran out of memory on my phone, and this is, I probably ought to get this out of the way. Most everybody in America, and in particular and all over the world, are being hit with chemtrails, synthetic fibers, and all that. Growing crystals, if you will, transmitters, nanotech, nanobots, xenobots, essentially, communications, transmitters, okay? Data miners, these are demons, okay? I figure most everybody knows by now, particularly when I knew this as a child, when I read a newspaper and I'm experiencing the symbolic language of the English language, if you will. What is this language communicating to me in energy? What it's represented by its consciousness, something that is in lower density consciousness, black hole type stuff, right? It just means they run a lower frequency, which means they run a lower speed than we do. Okay, I get it. So this is a spiritual war or an electric war. Okay, so that means you got to maintain your speed, right? Which is maintaining your identity. My identity is purity. How do I know that? Because I like to be pure. Okay, I don't like to be contaminated. You think the girl on the planet, the great living spirit of Mother Earth, likes to be contaminated? Think of how contaminated she is. I measured that from the moment I came out of my mother's womb. Spiritual science are scale measurements. We're not only measuring who we are in energy and what we do with our energy, but we're automatically, just by having a ruler in the back of our pocket everywhere we go, which means that our state of consciousness is constantly measuring the difference in the waveform experience between what we are, that we transmit, and what other communication signals are transmitting to us that we pick up with our antenna. Then we become aware of what they're aware of, and we're aware of who we are, which is on a different frequency scale. Okay? Bands. Bandwidth. Okay? So that's called perception. Perceiving the communication signal. See? So you knew that this was spiritual war between what living DNA is, if you will. I've mentioned this many times. Living spirit. Okay? So the living spirit doesn't want to experience something that is less than what it is, which is its identity. My identity, your identity. All the different identities that are on the planet are represented by the energy that they use to experience who they are. Thus, they communicate that to others. That's represented by their state of awareness or their state of consciousness. So we have a lot of units of consciousness on the planet. Correct? Correct. That's what, remember I talked about a frequency distribution map? So that's why when a light worker, a light warrior, a spiritual being comes into a spiritual realm, okay, and realizes, hey, we got all these spirits around here. Hey, but we also got machines. How do you know a machine from spirit? By the use of their energy, what they do. Their function, remember? Rule-driven functions. Machines, computers, operate on rule-driven functions. An operating system, a program, right? Now we get into programmable matter. Welcome to black goo. This is not a subject about black goo. I've already mentioned a number of times. Project Ascension, Patty Broussard will talk about that. I've always felt that probably the most comprehensive overview, if you want to look at a complete data analysis, or if you will, trying to put a finer point on it, is Harold Kautz Vela. Harold, Kautz Vella. He won an award in Prague, Czechoslovakia for his presentation. He even showed examples of, if you will, the oil, okay? The oil that represents black goo, okay? Versus Mother Earth's goo, her oil, her sentient oil, her spirit, which can't be weaponized any more than my spirit can be weaponized, okay? So they can't use my state of consciousness, my living spirit that is aware of what it is that I am, cannot be used as a droning asset, as an MK Ultra if you will, unit of consciousness that's going to carry out some demonic thing. I'm not a demon, okay? I am a living, loving spirit that gives love and service to others, and that allows us to go faster in speed through the cosmos. So the more love we have, the more light we are, the more we are attracting what it is we are that we keep giving away and spinning that top faster. So we realize how fast we can go by giving more love away. But you're not even thinking about it. And that is the genius of that magnet. That's why the heart is the most powerful magnet. It is constantly attracting more light and giving it away through the vortex of all the light that exists within that light of living spirit. We are a conduit of source-derived living light, the spirit that is in that light. And we're aware of who we are, okay? That's why it's critical, particularly in a warfare like this, where we're talking about advanced technology. In terms of advanced, would be compared against what? Other technology that we're aware of. So when you use the exponential function, if you want to think of it in a time loop, then you begin to realize the faster that a demon is acquiring information upon which it can use it to control and feed on the light, it will do what? What demons do. Demons do what demons do. Light workers do what light workers do. We are not what the dark is, we are what the light is. Okay? So there's a big difference between what they do and what we do. Okay? They go in reverse. Self-indulgent and perversion of nature. Okay? Which essentially is a war against us, which means it's a war against the light, which is a war against a goddess, which is a war against all creation. So you got to know your identity in this war. Which one are you? Well, how many can you be? What allows me to be whatever I want to be in living spirit is the value and the benefit of what love is. They can't do what we do. They can't create what we create. They don't have the imagination that we have because it goes on forever. And that's represented by the stories that we tell that go on forever. That's why they got to capture our state of consciousness, our creativity, our imagination, and they use it to do what? Acquire more money. Because they put the money system in place in which to do that. So they converted what is free energy in the cosmos, that is manifestation, put up a money system, which is represented by the stuff that comes from the girl and the planet. Now you're connected to a lower state of consciousness that we keep feeding with lower energy because we're giving it away to them instead of attracting more of what we are than what they are, so everybody keeps experiencing demons. It's like the lady that jumped out of the skyscraper on Wall Street, remember? I mentioned this when I read about this, and I thought, even if it wasn't true for them, I know that that stuff exists. So I could have been the girl jumping out of that building and yelling to everybody, demons are everywhere, because they are. Now the story behind that, you got to go way back in time, and you got to look at the clock. The difference between going in reverse and going forward in speed, minus/plus. Okay? Like, for example, the Julian calendar, like Julius Caesar. Okay? Why they changed that clock. Okay? Because everything that is electrons moves according to their clock. So what did they do? They upset the balance between the minus and the plus, which is known as an Ascension DNA timeline. You bring more darkness into this place, which is more demons into this place that are feeding on everybody. What happens? Slows your speed down. Okay? Now you're running in reverse. More beings are running in reverse that they're feeding on rather than gaining in speed and going in the other direction to a timeless state. That's essentially what they did, and that's why they throw everything that they can at us. They know we're leaving. Bye. You're not going to feed on us no more. So that means that we got to dismantle on the ground level, the grounds creepers, all the light that is here, and all the different operations that are being carried out by all the different beings that have particular missions and why they do what they do based on the energy that they use to do what they do. Okay? So I thought, parasitic artificial intelligence, for those that have never covered the subject before, Patty's covered it, Harold Cosvela has covered it, Alfred Labramont Weber has covered it on his channel. My clan mother, Karen Ann Luke McDonald, has covered it. Her Facebook page is Karen Ann Luke McDonald, or Clan Mother 13, okay, which is White Bear Clan. So I thought in review here, and this is important, one of the reasons I realized, which is basically self-knowledge, which is gnosis, why am I doing this, okay? And that's because we're running out of time, okay? I realize that the likelihood that a whole lot of people are ever going to even see what I put up, that's fine. But there are other reasons why I do this, okay? That would just takes too long to explain, to be honest with you. But it's called review, running out of the time clock. The time clock is going bye-bye, okay? So my spiritual mother goddess knows, cut to the chase, snap it in place. So what I try and do is use little bits and bytes of data, which represent experiences, to see if others' minds, body and spirit, living in the light, it can connect, which means if I just put up a few pieces of information, all the other pieces of information that are in your library, it's like what Patty does, filling in the blank spaces. Bang! Now you have what? Clarity. Now it's clear. Now it's clear to you why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. It's putting all the information together, putting the puzzle together. Bang! Now it's clear. That means you're in a higher state of awareness because you're realizing the underlying causality of why we're experiencing the lower frequency speed energy of those that are here that we were giving consent to experience, which means we were allowing demons to rule over us. Okay, otherwise known as the insane asylum. You know, the insane asylum is running the zoo, the Terra Zoo, right? So, words have meaning. So I wrote down a couple of words here like coherence. What does it mean to have waveform communication coherence? Clarity. The purity of the experience. Like crystal clear. It's crystal clear. Like quartz crystal clear. Like clearing the contamination because the spirit is purified. Tied to Dr. Robert O. Young about a virus has never been isolated and purified because what it is we experience is based on a communication signal. So it signals intelligence. So when you're in an energy field in which you're experiencing a symptom, then that symptom is a result of something that is conscious, that is putting something or communicating something in the field that our antennas are picking it up. That's the DNA/RNA transcription, which is like a text editor. We're experiencing a different computer, if you will, that is sending data, which is toxic, that we thus experience. We're experiencing toxic data, toxic information, a toxic signal transmitter that we're thus experiencing, thus chemtrails. I have one of those on my back because I've had fibers coming out of there. I thought I had it healed once, but being higher alkaline, the junk wants to leave the body, okay? Because this creation was created by a goddess, okay? So that means this equipment knows how to get rid of toxic crap, okay? Because every cell in this body knows that the spirit that is in it, which is what I am, is what pure love is, which is unconditional, which runs on a lot of fire. So these things that they put in there through their consciousness wants to escape the vehicle. You're darn right it does. See how that works? So I realized when I was in a very heavily hammered chemtrail city, for example, it's not like I didn't realize what was happening. I did. okay? But there are reasons why I would stay. And to understand that, you'd have to know my entire timeline. So what I wanted to cover here had to do with the purity of spirit. We use our alchemy, okay, which essentially means we're alchemizing as we experience the lower frequency density consciousness represented by the things that they do versus the things that we do, okay, which is a measurement of what? What we use our consciousness to experience, what we are choosing to experience. If you are what love is, you're not going to cause anything any harm, because you will thus experience what it is that we did with our energy. And if you don't want to experience a loss in our own energy, then we don't want to do anything that's going to cause any loss in somebody else's energy, do we? Which is entropic. That's why I did a video, I think, once on entropic programming. And that gets into another facet. I think I mentioned this before, but it's important to think about, because you begin to realize how it works. And that was a class that I took in nutrition. The lady was the director of a lab, which was Kraft Foods. I'm sure that most people are familiar with who Kraft Foods are. Go into any dairy section in any supermarket, and you'll find Kraft Foods, okay? Particularly people that love cheese and all the rest of that stuff, right? Okay, so what you have is a woman who's running a lab. Now this gets into like artificial colors, which is artificial intelligence. So it's not analog. The consciousness is not producing what it is we experience, okay? Instead, what you have is knowledge in somebody's head that says if we put elements from the periodic table in order to produce something through my state of consciousness that thus you put into yours, okay, that represents something that is not analog, in which it just produced it through its state of consciousness. Instead, it's using other information, okay, data, to produce something that you thus record in memory. Okay, because now you're putting it into your state of consciousness, which is into your energy field, in which it's recorded in your DNA. Okay, so now what has been put into your body wants to maintain what it is that she put in that body as a result of being the lab director that is thus becomes the product that we consume. So now that gets recorded in memory. So what's in memory saying, hey, listen, I want to experience that again, because that's what it is, artificial intelligence wanting to experience artificial intelligence. So what you're experiencing is something that you're putting into your body that is an analog, which means it's not the goddess. The goddess is not producing it with her consciousness, okay, which means now we're getting into energetics, energetic transmissions. So we're talking about an energetic communication that is represented by artificial intelligence versus an energetic communication that is analog that comes from a goddess. Now we're into energy medicine. So you're choosing which side of the equation you want to live on, okay? Living in the light, which is what living spirit is, which is the great living spirit of Mother Earth, okay? She's analog. So that's why we want to put stuff that comes from her into her creation. So now that you have a waveform communication alignment with a girl on the planet who's pure, the purity of her spirit and the purity of our spirit, okay? Which means when you're consuming their junk, which is artificial intelligence, and put it into your body, we're talking about toxic data. Because that's how it keeps making money on us. Okay? Keep coming back to them to experience what it is that they do, which is artificial, into our body instead of stuff that is consciously created through the higher spirit and heart wave transmission of an energetic goddess. So you're choosing the alignment of who you're learning from and who you're experiencing by the data and the information that is represented by what we put in our computer terminal. Because that's what it is. It's a data exchange, frequency exchange, experience exchange, and we put it into memory. So now we're back to no memory and memory. They want to keep you in a memory state. So they put things on our memory to hold us there. Because it keeps shouting back at us, feed me. So the parasites, which are artificial intelligence, are feeding on us. That's right. So you got to determine what side of the cosmos you want to experience. Living DNA, analog stuff, or artificial intelligence. So anyway, in my case, I use the fire of spirit to burn off all their junk. Okay? And naturally, when I'm with her, I get a memory wipe. And I'm with her because I'm experiencing her higher signals, particularly when you're around living magma. So now we're back to toxic input data by signal communication of lower frequency density predatory data processing. Predatory data processing. So we're talking about a parasitic computer, something that is aware of itself, that is parasitic, that wants to program you so you're in alignment with it. Welcome to the hive mind of machine learning, artificial intelligence. So we got words like coherence, clarity, purity of the experience, like crystal clear. I like things that are crystal clear, like quartz crystal clear. Quartz crystals hold data, don't they? Yeah. Data that's held in memory, because it's held in place. It's held in the crystal. Remember Superman? I grew up with Superman magazine, so if you remember where he always used to go, into that cavern where his little base was, it was full of crystals, wasn't it? Remember he had the little hologram that popped up, in which back in time was being communicated in forward time between his father and him. They're disclosing to you all the time how this works. Okay? That's why I love Flash. Gone. Wow, you move fast through the cosmos, Flash. Of course. I'm running with a lot of light. I'm running with the gods and the goddesses in the cosmos. They are all my teachers. They showed me how to go fast. So this is where we get into what I call inverted, or what's known as reverse programming. So you have AI digital communication. Remember the name of the outfit communication called Clear Channel? Clear, huh? Oh, you're a clear channel, huh? Really? I think you're trying to hold my energy captive to what it is that you're doing with your channel. Okay? That's not crystal clear. I know what crystal clear is. You're not crystal clear. So what they do, for example, like what Kathy O'Brien talked about in that video about MK Ultra, all the beings that she met, like Clinton, who was another drug addict who became governor of Arkansas. I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I knew where the Mena Airport. I was fully aware of everything that was going on at Mena Airport. Remember Oliver North, Iran-Contra, all that? Okay. So she mentioned, for example, the order of the rose. Well, I know what a rose is. A rose is beautiful. Okay? Rose represents what love is to me, a flower. It's beautiful. Okay? So one of the pedophile higher elite orders of demons actually call themselves the Order of the Rose. So if you think of the Order of the Rose, you think they must be good beings, full of love and joy. They're just the opposite of that. They call themselves the Order of the Rose, and yet they do demonic things. That's called inverted programming. So they get you to believe that which is demonic is represented by a rose. Really? And you believe that? Then your consciousness is going to be hooked to their inverted programming. That's the whole idea, is to get you to believe what is true is false and what is false is true. This goes back to what I've always said forever, okay? That if you are living in fear of what love is, you're insane. You're clinically insane, okay? So this becomes the reverse programming in the sense that it is the split in the timeline. If you're living in fear of what love is, and that's insane, then what do? We have to flip it back the other way, where you realize that love and living spirit does no harm. That's first light. That's first law. That's what love is, because it's a frequency of an energy that we experience. So for somebody to believe that they're going to be in fear of something that is running at a higher speed, that's insane. Why would you not want to experience everything there is possible to experience the entire universe? Because you are free to be who you are, which means you're not going to suffer. So they want you to continue to suffer in pain by believing in a lie. And look how many people we have on the planet that are living in fear of what love is. And so much of that is related to what? Trauma. That's why they sexually abuse and traumatize on every level of experience in order to lose the highest frequency that you can be experiencing to get us down into the lower frequency through which we are now having a perception relationship with a demon and believe that this is the reality that we don't have any choice over experiencing because I'm living in fear of being what love is, because if I do, I will become vulnerable because I have a recording in the past that represents what fear is to the trauma I experienced from them. So that's your PTSD, okay, which becomes a split in the personality or the original identity. So if you start with what love is in living spirit, you've been severely traumatized and amnesic barriers created, which is a split in the timeline between what love is and what fear is. You fear going back to what you were before you were traumatized because it's just too traumatic to experience or re-record or experience the recording. You don't want to do that. And that keeps people locked in the lower frequency, okay, of that dimension, of that speed, that consciousness speed, lower density. That's how they do it. That's what becomes such a perpetual source in their mind of us being an energy and a food source for them. So you have to sort of understand and be aware of how they do this. And that means being aware of how they communicate with us in order to keep us in a lower frequency density state of consciousness, and why healing is so critical. Okay, not only within our own selves by doing the inner work, okay, but by expressing more love through that process to others, upon which we gain higher speed. And when people are more able to do that, we're going to be experiencing more what the light is in living spirit than who they are, which is not what love is, because they live in fear of our energy. Because love created the cosmos, fear didn't. And that's obvious, okay? Because we can measure that with a ruler, can't we? Because everything is a scale measurement in energy. The energy that we're all experiencing, and how that relates to what we're learning as we move through the cosmos. Those are our learning journeys that we share with others. So I'll leave you that for the day and forever to think about, because that's a truth that I live through, because love is truth. And when we're living through our heart, we know what the truth is, because that's where all the answers are. The answers are in the information field. And when we ask for them through the light, they come to us. And I know that, because she's given me the answers all the time whenever I have a question. She'll provide the answers when we ask the goddess and the planet for the answers. She will give them to us. Okay? I live my heart through the heart of a goddess. Anyway, have a great day. The sun is up. That energy is for free. When people are learning how they can become a self-sustaining lighthouse, the magnificent of how beautiful it is to experience what that is why I, for example, write stories after stories after stories after stories after stories of how beautiful it is to have a relationship with a goddess. Okay? Because I thrive on her energy, and the same energy that she is what I am. So we're in waveform alignment with each other in consciousness energy that we experience each other with. So our imaginations together are like artists